Trading in the NHL, if done right, can lead teams to climbing the standings in the league and possibly helping them to win Stanley Cups. However, if done wrong, it can cause entire teams to enter mediocrity and leave fans baffled on why these deals ever happened. So today I'm going to talk about some of the worst trades in NHL history. But right before we get started with this list, guys, I'm going to give you guys a heads up. I will not be including the Weber-Subban trade on this list because Shea Weber is still a superstar defender in the NHL, and until his age catches up to him, this deal, in my opinion, is still pretty even. Coming off first on our list here, guys, is a pretty recent trade in which we've seen Stars center Tyler Seguin shipped to Dallas from Boston in a 7-player deal. Boston sent Rich Peverley, Ryan Button, and Tyler Seguin to Dallas in exchange for Matt Fraser, Louis Eriksson, Joe Morrow, and Riley Smith. Boston fans were instantly shocked with the trade, seeing Tyler Seguin was a second overall pick and looked like he was going to be a star center in the show real soon. Seguin put up real decent numbers in his first 3 seasons with Boston. However, then current Bruins GM, Chiarelli, and Bruins management believed otherwise, in which we got this gem of a clip.
We have to move a player, and the player that I've been shopping is Seguin.
I see work hard from Seguin. Not the second league. And he won't pay the price. I thought he worked hard. I give him credit, and I agree with Denny that he's learning. I thought he learned, like in the playoffs.
He's not a physical player. He relies all on his skill.
Does it sound familiar?
Yeah, it does. He's a star player, no doubt. Does he fit our culture?
And now Bruin fans can only look back in horror, seeing Seguin dominate the NHL and being one of the best young goal-scoring centers in his prime, while Louis Eriksson is a shadow of his former self. However, Pastrnak is a pretty good makeup. Next up on our list is a trade which may still haunt older Flame fans still today. On March 28, 1988, the Flames made a trade which seen them acquire Rob Ramage and Rick Wamsley in exchange for Steve Bozek and Brett Hull to the St. Louis Blues. It's needless to say the Flames got fleeced. This trade confused fans at the time as well because Hull was having a pretty good rookie season at the time, amounting 50 points in 52 games to the Flames. However, they still dealt him in a deal they'd soon regret. Ramage would play 1 season with the Flames before being dealt to Toronto, and Wamsley would play 4 seasons as a backup goalie for the Flames before being shipped off as well. However, on the Blues end, they acquired a legendary goal-scoring machine in Brett Hull, who would amount to a total of 527 goals and 936 points with the Blues, and was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2009 with career totals of 741 goals, 1,391 points, and being a player with one of the best slap shots ever, and being one of the best and purest goal scorers of all time. The next trade on this list is a trade which sent Eric Lindros to Philly. Lindros was drafted by the Nordiques but refused to play for the team, and at his draft he wouldn't even put on their jersey. Quebec had no choice but to deal the franchise talent to a very excited Philadelphia Flyers. The issue, however, is what Philly gave up for Lindros. Philly acquired Lindros in exchange for Steve Duchesne, Peter Forsberg, Kerry Huffman, Mike Ritchie, $15 million cash, their 1993 first-round pick, Chris Simon, and their 1994 first-round pick. Lindros was by no means at all a bust. He was a superstar player in his time, but injuries quickly derailed his career. Those players would help the newly formed Colorado Avalanche win their first ever Stanley Cup. Also, Philly had no idea what the caliber of player Peter Forsberg would turn into, who ended up being one of the best players of all time. And it didn't help that Philly's 1993 first-round pick, Jocelyn Thibault, was a part of the trade which led to the Avalanche acquiring legendary goaltender Patrick Roy. Lindros was an amazing player. However, Philly simply gave up too much for him, and Colorado ended up winning cups with the many of players and picks they gave up for him, while Philly came up empty-handed. This trade shows why GMs need to stop giving up on star players just for solid NHLers. The Oilers had just completed McDavid's rookie season, missing the playoffs, however had an extremely bright future ahead of them. The Oilers had hired Chiarelli to take over as GM the year prior and had some work to do. However, he pulled off one of the most infamous trades in league history, in which he traded star winger in Taylor Hall for Adam Larson to New Jersey, 1-for-1. This trade made social media erupt with confusion on how on earth New Jersey just pulled this trade off. It was defended early, but some members of social media claiming Larson was a solid defender the Oilers needed. However, only a few years later, the trade is more laughable than ever. Taylor Hall carried his team to the playoffs, capturing the Hart Trophy, while Edmonton missed the playoffs once again. This trade would have been less stupid had the Oilers given up a different asset for Larson. However, Hall should have been an untouchable, and now the Oilers are facing the consequences. It's almost ironic because Hall would have been the perfect wingmate for McDavid, with the speed and amazing shot to play with him. It's a real shame to think about. This also means Chiarelli traded the first and second overall pick in the 2010 draft and got fleeced royally both times. The next trade is another example of giving up a young, highly touted draft pick for a solid NHL player. In 2012, we watched as the Caps drafted an extremely skilled player named Filip Forsberg. However, in an attempt to add a depth piece for the playoffs, the Caps dealt Forsberg for an aging player in Martin Erat and a career AHLer in Michael Latta. People felt like the Caps had been robbed right after the trade was announced, and it showed extremely quickly. Erat would play 2 seasons with the Caps, playing 62 games and collecting 26 points. On the flip side of the trade, Forsberg has become a young star winger in the NHL and has been a vital piece of Nashville's constant playoff pushes while embarrassing the opponents in the process. This trade stings Caps fans because had they had Forsberg earlier, they may have won some more cups a little quicker than it took them. I bet it's no coincidence on why then Capitals GM and now Vegas GM George McPhee has refused to deal his young star prospect in Cody Glass to any team at all, no matter what the offer. The final trade on this list is yet another example of giving up on a young player way too soon. The Penguins drafted Marcus Naslund 16th overall in 1991 and played 2 seasons amounting 15 points. But in his 3rd season in Pittsburgh, he broke out, putting up 52 points in 66 games. However, this recent individual success didn't stop the Pens from dealing Naslund to Vancouver for Stajanov. The trade would be talked about as if it was 2 young forwards who needed a change of scenery. However, this only applied for Naslund. Stajanov would put up a total of 6 points in 45 games with the Pens, while Naslund went on to be one of the greatest Canucks players in history, amounting 395 goals and 869 points. This trade was so terrible it probably kept the Pens from having a borderline dynasty, as the Pens just kept falling short of the Cup Finals in the mid to late 90s. You can argue this trade was the downfall of the Penguins until their resurgence in the early 2000s. So what do you guys think about this list? What trades should I add to the next video? And if you liked the video, feel free to drop a like. And if you didn't, feel free to dislike and tell me what I could improve on. Anyway guys, I'll see you in the next one.